today. Her name is Regina Howard Norman. She's got Regina's Baking Academy. You guys got to check that out. Regina is an expert in baking. But we're going to talk today about stay tuned and get ready. Share this out. Invite your friends. This is going to be a good conversation. Regina, welcome.
Yes,
I'm
thank
excited about this. This is, I mean, I've been watching what you've been doing online with your um, live streams, your baked goods. I wanted to jump through the screen quite a few times, So let's talk about how this all happened because you were a career woman,
yes,
college educated, got your master's degree, the whole nine
yes,
yard, but
yes.
you've had this love for baking and cooking for all your life. So talk to us about that, how this all came about, and why you started Regina's Baking Academy.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you for having me on this morning. Well, it cooking and baking is something I kind of grew up with. I'm a grandma's babe, and for a while, it was myself, my sister, and three of my cousins, and we grew up under our grandma for a few years. And I used to just watch her cook all the time, and she made everything from scratch. I didn't see a box or a can. I think the
Mm.
only thing grandma liked was uh fruit cocktail, sardines, and Vienna sausage.
Okay, see, okay, my grandmother and your grandmother must be sisters or something because that combination right there,
Yeah,
it's the same one.
yeah,
Yeah, and cottage cheese and peaches.
yeah, right. But yeah, because they wasn't doing fresh peaches unless she was down south on my
Right,
aunt's farm. But
right.
but she so I guess growing up I didn't really pay attention to it that much. But she also instilled in all of us the importance of getting an education, being able to take care of yourself. She told us about how things were when she was growing up down south and the reason why she came up north. So she always instilled in all of us, get your education, be able to take care of yourself and be responsible. So
Mhm.
for me, it was like checking off boxes. I knew I had to go to school.
Yeah.
I knew I had to get an education, at least a bachelor's. Like high school,
Mhm.
I couldn't just stop there. So I did all of that. And along the way, I had a family. I have four children. My husband and I together, we have four children.
Right.
And by the time thought about baking, it really came later on in life. Initially, my primary focus was cooking, making sure that the kids had good food, make sure I was taking care of my family. That's just kind of what I saw growing up.
Hmm.
So I said, okay, that part was all right. But what happened was the kids started having birthdays. And every birthday, we would either go to Valencia to get a cake or we would go to the local bakery. And
Hmm.
I started looking at that a little bit and I was like, hmm. And then one day, this was I was in between jobs and it was my husband, he was like the sole provider. And the kids came home from school, it was around the Christmas holidays, and it was like, Ma, we want to get presents for the teachers.
Mm.
Because it's Christmas, we always do like a little exchange. We used to go to the local store, get like the $10 perfume set and give it to the
Hmm.
teachers. But at that time I didn't even have that.
Wow.
So they was like, well, we want to give them presents. Everybody's giving them presents. And I was like, and I had the three little ones looking at me. My baby girl, she wasn't in school, thank God, because she'd have been like, yeah, I want to give them too. But I
Right.
said, what can I do? Because I don't want them to feel like, left out, right? So then I looked at two recipes. One was on the Quaker oatmeal because I was home, so I'm cooking the kids hot meals every day. You know, they either had grits or cream of wheat or wheat tin, or it was something hot. They didn't know cereal except for Kicks, and that was more like a snack. But if I was home, I was doing like Grandma did. She made sure we got up in the morning, had a hot breakfast. You know, we were good, you know, and healthy and everything. So I looked on the Quaker box and I saw this recipe for oatmeal raisin cookies. I was like, okay, great. And then I was in the supermarket shopping, and I ran past the chocolate morsels, the Nestle chocolate morsels, and they had a recipe for chocolate chip cookies.
Mhm.
And I said, aha, I can make cookies for the kids to give to their teachers for Christmas presents. And it started from there. So I
Mhm.
did it. I came home. I got the rest of the stuff. I looked in my closet. I said, "Oh, I got oatmeal, you know, for the oatmeal raisin cookies. I got chocolate, and then I got flour and butter. So I
Mhm.
had most of the ingredients to do it. I just needed to know how.
Right.
And I read the instructions, followed the directions, and I didn't know how to do small or measure. I just knew I wanted to make the kids happy. So I
Mhm.
made these big old giant chocolate chip cookies and oatmeal raisin cookies, and they gave them to their teachers for presents. They loved it. So that's when I started thinking, hey, there may be a little something
So tell
to
me
this.
something. When you went and got that recipe and all that,
Yes.
did you just use it straight, or did you start already innovating and making other adjustments to it? How did you get into that?
So the one thing I've realized is that I wasn't sure what to do. So the best thing for me to do initially was follow the instructions.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
wanted to make sure I got it right. I didn't want to deviate because it was my first time doing it, and it's supposed to be a present. So I didn't want to mess it up, right?
Yeah.
So initially, like the first maybe 5 or 6 times, I did it just as the recipe stated. If
Nice.
it said, 3/4 cups of brown sugar, then that's what I did. If it said a half a cup of granulated sugar, that's what I did. So
Mhm.
I followed the instructions until I felt comfortable
Mhm.
to deviate. Once I felt comfortable, the door was open. I started mixing stuff in. I would go. We had a local Rite Aid, and I would go in there and get the candies on sale, the toffees, and the big, $2 blocks, and then I would break them up, and I would put them in the chocolate chip cookies and had the pieces coming up, and
Mm.
I would mix the peanut butter with the chocolate chips, and then I would find other. Then I started getting curious. So we always took the kids to Barnes and Nobles. That was like one of the things we did on the weekend. We would take
Mhm.
them to Barnes and Nobles, among other stuff we did with them.
Mhm.
But then I started going to the baking section, and they have really good, reasonable books on sale with tons of great recipes.
Mhm.
So first, I started with the one book.
Mhm.
I was like, this is good. Then,
That one book
we
will
were going
grow.
back. Now I got a, I'm going to show you one day. I got a whole section, right? But
Mhm.
it started from wanting to do something. And then I started really going into the different. This book had like tons of cookie recipes, and I just
Mhm.
got excited. So I was like
Mhm.
baking this and baking that. So I started from two cookie recipes to 30. So I had
Mm.
like 30 recipes. Then I would see something online that was a nice recipe. I would take that and punk it out and add my own thing. I
Mhm.
make this lemon cookie that was the base recipe is a butter cookie.
Mm.
But I saw it, and I did my own thing. I added my own stuff and tweaked it. When I
Mhm.
tell you Pepperidge Farm had this lemon crunch cookie that was so good it make you wanna get a big glass of milk or a big cup of
Yeah.
coffee, whatever thing you like. My cookies were better than that.
Mm. Yeah,
My
I
mom
believe it. I believe
my
it.
mom told me, she was like, "I don't eat sweets like that, but those cookies that I made
Mhm.
for her."
Mhm.
Uh,
So
so that
what do you find is the key to, because when it comes to those cookies, and Petra's Farm is good. Okay,
yeah.
I've
Are
had
you
Petra's
kidding?
Farm,
Yeah, yeah.
but there's something that happens when the cookies and the cakes and the pastries are homemade. That flavor is so much different.
The flavor is different. I think,
Totally different.
unlike Pepperidge Farm, and there's other gourmet cookies out there that don't use a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
And I think when you use fresh ingredients,
Hmm.
your stuff doesn't have a long shelf life, but you're not making it for someone to hold it. You're
Right.
making it for someone to have it,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So, and because you know someone's going to eat that
Hmm.
like really soon,
Hmm.
you want to make sure you're giving them your best.
Yes.
So you're going to put the best ingredients. You're going to make sure you respect the temperatures and do all the
Hmm.
things that it requires to make sure when that person gets what you took the time to make, that
Hmm.
they really enjoy it.
Hmm.
And and also be open to constructive criticism too,
Hmm.
because sometimes you be thinking, "Oh, this is the best. They're gonna love it," and maybe not.
Right.
But that's okay. That's how you learn how to tweak and modify and do it better,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Because everybody can't be wrong. Like I used to get a little sensitive, but the more I stopped being sensitive and listen, it opened me up to try new things and
Yes.
do stuff a different way, and that's how I got better over time. But there's something about fresh
Uh,
versus
can be.
packaged in the box on the shelf.
Hmm.
Like my grandma used to always make fresh desserts on Sunday, even if it was a Duncan Hines box. She
Hmm.
would tweak that, punk it up. You could tell me my grandma wasn't in that kitchen hitting that flour and throwing that baking powder and making it just the way it needed to be, you know?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it was nice and good. And it wasn't like we had desserts every day, but we had a dessert we knew on Sunday. Grandma was going to fix something along with
Hmm.
Sunday dinner. We was going to get a dessert, either a cake or
Yeah.
a pie or something. Don't let the holidays come. All
Mm.
bets are off. Okay,
Okay.
sweet potato pie hand down, cake over here. I mean, just a plethora of fun treats and stuff for the
Now,
holidays.
of course, now that you mentioned sweet potato pie, okay, this is a side note. I just have to set the record straight because I can't even
Please
believe
set it
that you
straight.
would ask a question like
Please
that.
set it
Sweet
straight.
potato pie or pumpkin pie.
What? It's sweet potato. Like who we talking to here? What's what's
And
the
when
conversation?
he goes, well, I've
You
had them both and they both taste the same to me. I'm like, uh,
you had the raw pie.
yeah, okay.
You had the raw sweet
And
potato
he
pie.
said
This
that the
is
pumpkin
not.
pie was store bought. So I'm like, well, if your pumpkin pie, the store bought, tastes like a sweet potato pie, then
It's
somebody did not know what they were doing with the sweet
right,
potato clearly.
right.
And then Tanoa went on to say that, well, she tasted a bean pie, and although she
That
liked
was
sweet potato pie, but she says, she's just gonna say, well, the bean pie was better. I'm like,
you haven't had a sweet potato pie unless you had a down home southern
yeah, yeah.
sweet
I
potato.
mean, you have to curate your sweet potatoes. They can't be stringy. They
They,
have to be just
they can't.
yeah.
And I learned that over time because I've made a
And they
few.
can't be too big.
They
You
can't.
want to
No, they
pasteurize
can't.
so that they have
No.
these flavors concentrated.
Yes, yes.
You know what I
And
do with
the
my sweet
richness
potatoes?
to the color, they gotta.
Yeah, I don't boil my sweet potatoes down.
Oh, you don't?
No, 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 no. I don't want the water to take my flavor.
That's true.
I don't want to have to add flavor back in. I'm defeating the purpose. I bake my sweet potatoes.
Smart.
Yes.
And
And that
then
way
you,
the sugar is concentrated in there. And then I take the skin off, grind them down, blend them
yeah,
down with now the natural sugar and all
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. Now I'm gonna do that this year. I'm gonna bake
Do
some. I'm gonna
that.
do it that
And
way.
it
'Cause I,
will change your life.
okay,
It's me on this
okay,
one. It will
okay. Because my grandma boiled
change
them,
your life.
but the way she put that magic stuff in those sweet potato pie,
Hmm.
that's the sweet
Hmm.
potatoes.
Hmm.
When I tell you, everyone,
Yeah.
everyone,
Yeah.
everyone
Hmm.
loves her sweet potato pies. I
Hmm.
mean, I always got two. I
Hmm.
didn't tell I didn't tell my mom until years later that I got two. She
Yeah.
always thought everybody got one. But
Yeah.
grandma gave me two. I said, but mom, I had a family. She
Right.
knew I had six people in here, so she made sure we were covered.
There you go. That's how it has to be.
And I came early.
Yes, and that's very smart, very wise. Okay, so now tell me something.
Hmm.
Well, I'm going to tell you one more tip on that. Okay, with the sweet potatoes, when you roast them, though, don't put the fork thing in them.
Don't poke them.
Don't poke them
Okay.
because you want to keep. as much of the juice inside of it. Now it's going to spill out the sides, from the top to the bottom, but you want to keep as much in as possible because that sweetness, if it releases, then you got to add more sugar to it to
Got
make
it. Okay.
do it slow. And and I know that they say roast them at like what 450 or 375. I've seen different things.
Okay.
I do 350
350.
or lower.
Okay.
It'll
Slow.
take a little bit longer, but even in the longer it takes, it'll be tender, but it'll concentrate those flavors down without losing so much of your juice.
Got it.
Then when it starts coming out, so long as the juice doesn't start getting really dark, you're
Yeah.
good. Then you just take the pan out that it's in, transfer the sweet potato to another pan to conserve the juice.
Okay.
Now starting to caramelize.
Right.
Then you incorporate that back in when you start to blend it up. My
Okay.
goodness. Yeah.
I'm gonna do that.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
Okay.
so tell me something. Okay, so you went the career path and all of that,
Yeah.
but your whole love for baking and pastry, it just blossomed at some point.
It did. I think it started when I was home, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
in between
Mm-hmm.
jobs, and I was cooking. I was home cooking and stuff like that, and then the kids needed um presents for their teachers, so I started like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm a lifelong learner, so if I'm doing something I really enjoy, I like to learn how to do it better, how to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother was the old school cook. She could just throw us together and do it. I couldn't do that. I tried it when she gave me a recipe. It did
Mm-hmm.
not work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I needed more formal training, and so I went to culinary school.
Right.
Now, at the same time, I knew at some point I wanted to go back into my career because I didn't go to get all this education um, not to use it, but I really wanted to learn how to be a better baker. Like I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to learn how to do more than just cookies because that's what I was doing for the most part. I was doing cookies and I was doing like breads. I was doing like banana bread, zucchini bread, and stuff like that. But I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to elevate it because then I started noticing, the kids every year, the kids getting older. Um, that's a birthday cake, so that's four for them, right? And then my husband and I make six.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then you know, I started baking for my mom, so it's like I'm now I'm baking cakes for everybody. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so that's a lot, right?
You
I
put you
mean,
to work.
yeah, they put me to work. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
All right. So I'm talking with Regina Howard Norman today, and we're just talking about her role as the founder of Regina's Baking Academy, and how she got to that point. How she came into the baking and the love of the kitchen and the food and bringing family together, and which is really this whole topic today of bringing
Yeah,
family together in the kitchen through
yeah,
education. And she is an educator. So we're going to dive into her ability to educate and then her training in the culinary world. Okay, Regina.
yes. So I've 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 always had to think about helping.
Hmm. Hmm.
So in my career, that's what I did. I worked in a nonprofit for about 17 plus years.
Wow.
Anywhere from working with at-risk youth, working with families with children in
Hmm.
foster care. Then in my last position, I became a branch manager and program director in a large nonprofit
Okay.
working with women that were transitioning back into the workforce. So
Okay. Okay.
I worked with them for 11 years, and we built up programs that not only reached like New York City, but globally. Some of the
Hmm.
programs that were created in New York were
Hmm.
things that were initiated and implemented in worldwide
That is
locations.
awesome.
So it was always about empowering,
Hmm.
doing something positive, helping make a real difference, and we got to see
Mhm.
those things in my professional career. I loved it. I
Mhm.
loved it. I loved the women. I loved the camaraderie. The fact that we made a difference, and we know we did. It
Mhm.
was always something about teaching,
Okay.
and the women used to say to us, Where were you when I was going through something back in the day?" And I was like, "Well, we're here now. Help you wherever you are right now. This is what we're gonna do." You
Well, let
know.
me interrupt you real quick. How did you get into the nonprofit sector of all places?
So, okay, now you're tapping into the juicy stuff. So back when I was a little one, I was around
Mhm.
8 or 9. The first real version, the first Roots came out with Alex Haley.
Oh, yes.
And when I saw that, a lot of things came up in me, you
Mhm.
know, anger, frustration. I wanted to go through that TV and beat people up because I didn't
Mhm.
like the way our women and our men were being treated and our children. And from there, I knew that I
Yeah.
had to be a voice for the voiceless and
Mm.
I had to do something. So
Mm.
initially, I thought that was law school.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
my uncle who went to John Jay told me about John Jay College, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to go to John Jay College,
Right.
and I'm going to get my bachelor's, and then I'm going to go to law school, and I'm gonna make a difference because I didn't like what they did at Roots." Now, all the time, mind you, I'm looking. Ruth had me going. I was like, "Okay, God, that's what
Mhm.
I'm going to do, and I'm gonna save the women." So I was like
Mhm.
committed to making a difference and helping people not go through that kind
Mhm.
for whatever reason. At 10 years old, you kind of in your space,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I knew from that I wanted to help people. I
Mm.
was committed to making my life be about helping those who didn't have a voice
Mm.
or helping those who needed to find their way
Right.
and needed an advocate. So that's what I wanted to be all my life. I've always wanted to help someone else get a leg up, you
Right.
know. And so I went to John Jay. I did all of that. I got the bachelor's, and the opportunity to go to law school came, and I got scared. I was like, "Ugh." I took the LSAT like 3 times, and I did all right. But see, all
Mhm.
right for me wasn't good enough. I was like, "Oh, And then I had a professor. He was like, "I could get you into Cardozo Law School. I got to connect there." And I
Right.
was like, "Professor, I think his name was Figueroa. He gonna kill me if that's not his name, but I'm sorry, Lord." Uh, but he was like, "I got you. I could get you in." And then I started thinking, "How I'm gonna pay for it?" Like all the stuff came in my head, like, "Oh my God." And
Mm.
maybe that was the devil trying to play games with my head. But I did get
Mhm.
nervous, so I backed out of law school.
Right.
But the need to serve and help make a difference was just part of who I
Mm.
am.
Mhm.
So that didn't go anywhere.
Mhm.
And what happened was I had just graduated out of college, so I didn't know how to break into any particular area.
Mhm.
So at first I was at Morgan Stanley of all places,
Mhm.
and I was working with another beautiful woman named is Mary Cannon. She's a sweetheart, and we was responsible for the mailroom on this
Mhm.
big executive Morgan Stanley. We had all these guys that were m- moving millions of dollars around and making all these transactions, and we're in there, and I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
corporate America.
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, because again, that's not really. But it was nice. They treated me really nice, beautiful people. But
Right.
one day, what happened was I came home and I felt a little unfulfilled because I'm like, come on, I got a bachelor's degree. I should be doing something else with my life, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So around the corner from where I used to live, there was a Covenant House. And they were, at the
Mhm.
time, they had expanded their programs into the community.
Right.
So I just went in there to see if I could volunteer. Said,
Mhm.
well, even if I'm not working in the field, at least I can volunteer my time. I'm off on the weekends. If they open on Saturday, I could come give a few hours. This was
Mhm.
before I had kids or anything like that. I was
Mhm.
still living at home with my mom
Yeah.
and my sister. So I went in there to ask, did they have any uh, volunteer opportunities?
Mhm.
So I started talking with the director, and he started asking me all these questions. I'm in my head. I'm like, "Sir, I just want to give a couple hours. I didn't know this is what you had to do to want to help in your community.
Right.
I almost got up and walked out. I was like, what's going on here? Why are we doing this? Why are you grilling me? Like, honest, I'm good. So he started asking me all these questions. And then he asked me, was I looking for a job?
Mhm.
I was like, no, I want to volunteer because I want to give back to my community. He
Mhm.
said, well, we have an opening. He said, well, how much are you making now?
Mhm.
So I told him, because I didn't know no better, right? So he
Right.
said, we could pay you 3,000 more. I was like, sold.
Right.
So I was I at home? I don't know if I was home or not. Now my years is okay. No, I had my first daughter. That was Kayla. So I wasn't home. I moved out. I had to
Mhm.
move out. So he said, "Do you want?" Because they threw me a nice baby shower at Morgan Stanley. He
Mhm.
said, "You want to come work for us?" And I was like, "Okay." I'm in my 20s. Like I'm
Mhm.
excited.
Mhm.
So I loved it. Like we helped the kids. What happened was they had a transitional program.
Uh-huh.
And what they did is they helped the teenagers transition out of their program at rites of passage to live in apartments in a community. And
Mm.
then they offered community services. We had food pantry. I
Mhm.
taught parenting classes and stuff.
And what is the rite of passage?
Rites of Passage was a program for young people that were over 18, but they
Mhm.
didn't have a place to live.
Got it.
So they came from the crisis center at Covenant House on 41st Street. Then we had this big, beautiful building on
Mm. Mhm.
17th Street and like
Mhm.
11th Avenue. And it was the Rites of Passage building. It had a lot of great training programs. They had a culinary program. They had different programs for the students. And but then they got the transition. So the next level was, how do we help them live on their own?
Mhm.
Well, we transitioned them to community programs.
Mhm.
So Covenant House at the time had what they call beacon programs in the community. So
Mhm.
when I walked into this place to volunteer, I didn't realize that was one of the beacon programs.
Mhm.
So I wound up working for Covenant House,
Wow.
and I stayed with them for about 3.5 years. By the time I left Covenant House, I was on child number three.
Wow. So, what were some of the most profound things that you saw, that you witnessed or experienced while you were at Covenant House?
Uh, what blew me away is what the young people went through. I did not know. I was so oblivious to the struggles of people in the street.
Mm.
At the crisis center, just a little fast forward, I was in a community based program. Then they promoted me to
Mhm.
work in a management training program. So in
Mhm.
this opportunity, you get 6 months at different locations.
Right.
So I wound up being at the crisis center. And
Mm.
in the crisis center, you work with the youth under 21.
Mhm. Mhm.
So at any given time, I was in charge of the women's program
Mhm.
at the crisis center. So at any given time, we had between 60 to 80 young ladies coming through
Wow.
this program.
Wow.
And the things that they went through,
Mhm.
being runaway youth at risk, some of them experienced sex trafficking,
Mm.
and the things that they knew about, the things that they did. I mean, I felt so um naive because like this stuff wasn't just it wasn't part of my experience growing
Right.
up.
Right.
And not that I didn't know some stuff. I mean, I grew up in the Bronx, so I ain't no punk. But
Right.
I, I wasn't doing this kind of stuff. So
Right.
I was my heart just felt like, oh my God.
Mm.
I just to know that they had to go through that, know they ran away from different things they were going through at home. And so my goal became, how do I help them? What can I offer? And myself and a coworker of mine, we were in charge of the unit. And
Mm.
at that time, I enrolled in a master's program. That was part of being in a management training. You had to go back for your master's, so that's how I went back
Mhm.
for my master's.
Mhm.
And I developed a reality-based series for for the youth there
Mm.
to help them transition out. So even if they didn't stay at the crisis center, we gave them reality-based training, like how to work with a landlord, how to negotiate things, how to go food shopping, how to interact with people, how to de-escalate, not become argumentative.
So did I hear you correctly? You developed that program?
Yes, as part of
Wow.
my master's program at Audrey Cohen at the time, now it's called Metropolitan College in New York. But
Mhm.
at that time, we had to develop a program
Mhm.
where we were. That was part of the master's program. So I have a binded book and everything called, reality based programs that just if you hold on 1 minute, I can bring you the book. Want to see it?
Okay, I'll talk to the audience while you are going and getting it.
Okay, I'm gonna go get it.
We're talking to Regina right now, and we're just exploring life and all of that. And the topic of the day is bringing families together in the kitchen through education. And I think what's important is for us to really get a good backdrop of who Regina is, because yes, she's a phenomenal baker and a phenomenal business owner, but there is a backdrop, a background that she comes with that informs her on how she is able to put together programs, how she worked in the nonprofit sector, and now what she's bringing to the table in her own academy, Regina's Baking Academy. So it's amazing just kind of hearing the layers unfold and how this now will, well, it kind of is why she does so well at what she does. She's got a heart to teach, a heart to serve. Okay, so she's back. Regina.
Hi. So this is actually the book I had to do, and it's called the need for reality-based training for runaway homeless and at-risk youth in residential facilities at Covenant House, New York, to
Hmm.
help youth toward independent living.
Wow.
And I did this in 1998, and part of the constructive action is what it's called. We had to create the programs. We had
Mm-hmm.
to do the research, create it, implement it, and then we had to evaluate was it valid? So we had to come up with a theory, and was the theory correct? If
Hmm.
it wasn't, what modifications we needed to make.
Hmm.
So I did that in 1998, and one of the things that kept me um, committed to helping making a difference because we had a young lady there, and um, I wasn't always favored as one of the best managers there because I was kind of tough.
Hmm.
And I knew I had to be because some of these young ladies, they came with stuff. I mean, they were used to managing, living in the streets, so dealing with me wasn't a big deal. So I had to bring my Bronx game. I had to be like,
Right.
listen, I care about you, but you not fitting to do this in here, and this is how it's going to go down.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I had did it with love, and so when I was doing the reality based workshops, I used to press them to participate. Like I wanted them to do stuff. We did journaling was one of the assignments, and one of the young ladies would sit at the table and she just was quiet.
Hmm.
Where we would kind of be in this round table doing it, and I would look at her and like I would be like, "Come on, sweetheart, I need you to write. This is the third assignment. You haven't turned anything in." I
Hmm.
said, "I expect you to do the work. This
Right.
is going to help you when you transition out of here."
Hmm.
And she didn't say anything, and I used to hear the girls talking about me, when they would go to their rooms and stuff
Hmm.
like that. And I didn't, you Jimmy Crack Corn, I don't care.
Right.
My goal was to make sure that they got what I was there for, right?
Right.
So we transitioned out of these different management programs every 6 months.
Hmm.
We were rotated out. So I was at the crisis center, then I was at the mother child, then rites of passage.
Hmm.
On the day that I left, she wrote me this beautiful letter, and
Hmm.
she explained to me how when she was growing up, her mom used to hit her on the head and tell her she was stupid when she was doing homework. And so she never felt that she was good enough or capable enough to write. And
Mm.
she told me, she said, Miss Regina, don't worry about what the other girl says. She said, I appreciate the fact that you want us to do better. And she explained to me the reason why she was shy at first to write was because she was told she wasn't good enough by her own mom.
Isn't
That
that
made me
amazing?
that made me cry. And
Yeah.
she started writing. By the time I finished, she had written in her journal and I was reading her stuff and she was not that stupid girl.
Mm.
And she told me, she said, Miss Regina, don't worry about what they say about you. You just keep doing what you're doing because it matters. Even when I think about it, I get a little sentimental. But I kept that letter
Wow.
and I still have that letter. And that letter is 22 years old.
Mm.
And every time, sometimes when I doubt if I'm doing the right thing or, am I really being of service, I read that letter and I get encouragement to
Yeah.
keep on moving in the direction I'm moving in because it's about providing help and service. And she was one of those girls that didn't have a voice. She
Mm.
was one of those girls in my head that when I looked at Roots at 10 years old, I wanted to help.
Yeah.
And that motivated me to keep on finding ways to serve. And that was one of the reasons why I stayed in nonprofit
Mhm.
the way I did it, why I went back to it, even after being at home. Because I was a stay-at-home mom for a
Mhm.
while, for about 6 years.
Mhm.
Not too long after my master's, I had my third child.
Mhm.
Then I had to kind of take a break and finish it up. I finished it up maybe a year after my son was born.
Mhm.
And then I worked again at another nonprofit.
Mhm.
And when I was pregnant with my fourth child, they downsized the program.
Oh, wow.
And so, last hired, first fired. That's the way it go. But they said you weren't fired, you were laid off.
Mhm.
So when we have another opportunity, you're welcome back.
Mhm.
And I was like, aha. But I think one of the reasons why they let me go, because I was always talking. I was
Right.
like, I don't understand why you trying to kick this kid out. I
Right.
didn't know the business of beds in the foster care system and the price margin when the kids are a certain age. I didn't know that. So I'm not gonna mention the agency. I don't want to blow nobody
Right.
up.
Right.
But I didn't know at the time that you get more money for kids when they're a certain age. As they age out, the money decreases. So then when we having our comprehensive treatment plans, you trying to move these kids out. So I would go on the back end and tell these kids, look, get into an education program. If you
Mhm.
go to school for your associates or your education, you get to stay here another 2 years.
Mhm.
Don't take this quick money. Like they
Right.
was giving them a little $5,000 or $2,000. That's gonna be, they're gonna spend that. They're gonna waste that. And guess
Yeah.
what? They wound up right back in the
Within
system.
days of getting out.
Then they in the shelter system. Then you know how many kids got wound up in the shelter system? So I used to complain a lot to my supervisor. I was like, I don't understand. That's not what we're here to do. So
Mhm.
basically, the rose-colored glasses came off.
Mhm. You
I
start
was
putting
looking at the
business
rose-colored
with it.
glasses, and then she was like, "Listen, this is what you need to do. This is
Mhm.
how you got to do it." And when we had a comprehensive treatment plans, when we meet with all the disciplines at the table, and we
Mhm.
got the child here, and the parent, and the psychologist, and the therapist, and I'm like, "What the what?"
Mhm.
So, yeah, so the rose-colored glasses came off, and then all of a sudden they had to downsize the program, and I
Yeah.
was one of the ones that was sad.
Yeah. Wow.
But it was okay because at that point I was like, "Hmm,
Mhm.
I'm a mom, and I've already saw what happens at Covenant House
Mhm.
when kids are not loved and cared for and paid attention to.
Mhm.
I I don't want that for mine. I need to stay there." So even though I had my master's and it was rough because I saved up money and everything, but that ran
Mhm.
out, unemployment runs out, all of this. So for a couple of years, it was rough financially because it was just on my husband to take care of everything, and that's a lot when you expect to have, two together. Then all of a
And
sudden,
in New York.
and in New York, and then the two becomes one. So I was like, well, dang, but I wanted to go back into the field, but then I got nervous because I was home for basically 6 years.
Mhm. Mhm.
But the benefit that I wouldn't take it, I wouldn't. If I had to do it over, the only thing I would have did differently is I would have saved more money
Mhm. Mhm.
because it was worth, and I would have had a deeper conversation with my husband and really got more of his buy-in
Right.
to work it out where it wouldn't be such a strain on him because got to be fair. We came in it together,
Mhm.
and I just kind of decided that I needed to be at home like grandma and take care of my babies.
Mhm.
And it worked out for a little while, but when the money dries up, savings ran out, the unemployment was like, yeah, you good, no more for you. Then
Right.
it was like, where is the rest coming from? And so that was the whole thing. But
Right.
I tell you, the things that I was able to do, my kids, I was able to be there for them, go on their school trips. They
Mhm.
had hot food, they had hot meals every morning. They ate good when they came home. Um, when they would go on trips, I would actually pack an extra lunch or buy extra lunch for a friend. I say, always have a spare. You
Mm.
don't know if someone needs it. And just give it to them or give it to your teacher and let her decide who to give it to. So I
Right.
always did that when the kids went on a trip. I always made sure they had an extra lunch. Um, I would do that up until high school.
So tell me something. What was it about you're making sure that they had a hot meal? I mean, when it was so easy, so convenient to just let them get a few things, fast food here and there, for them to just catch something on the run. What was it about that whole process that drew you to making sure that your kids that they had something that was home cooked?
My grandma did it.
Mm.
She did it for five of us, really for seven.
Mm-hmm.
Myself, my cousins, my sister, my grandfather, and my uncle.
Mm.
And she did it on a shoestring budget compared to what I had. And she made sure that we were fed,
Mm-hmm.
we were healthy, we didn't get sick.
Mm-hmm.
And I remembered that. And when we as cousins, we moved with our parents, our moms,
Mm-hmm.
my aunt and my mom and sisters. So that's how.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but when they came and got us and everything, they were in New York. It's not like they came down south. We were all in New York.
Right.
But my grandmother just decided I'm gonna wrap my arms around them so y'all can go ahead and do your, get your life. I'll
Mm.
take the grandchildren. When y'all get it better together, you can come get them. That's just how she was.
Right.
And she made sure we ate good food every day.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we didn't like it because beans. Oh my God!
Like,
But then, she would do the
and when the
spaghetti.
grandma's
She,
putting food out, it's not a menu
yeah,
situation.
it's not an option. You was going to eat whatever was on the menu. That's what you had for dinner, and you better eat it because
Better
they ain't
eat it,
no
don't
way.
waste nothing.
Don't talk about you not wanna. It was you not who. So nobody did that. We ate. So I had when I was home, I was like, well, if I'm gonna
Mhm.
be home,
Yeah.
be present,
Mm.
do for them what you knew was good for you
Yeah.
and what made a difference. And what made a difference for me was when I read the ingredients. I've read the ingredients on everything. I would just go read ingredients. I'm like, I don't understand that. What is that? What is this? What is that? I'm not putting that in my babies.
Right.
They're growing up. All that stuff that's in there, those preservatives and all that long shelf life, that's
Mhm.
going to my kids. I said, I'm home. I said, the least I could do is when they come home from school, they get a hot meal. My husband come home from work, he gets a hot meal.
Mhm.
Okay? I'm going to make sure that if I'm going to be home raising them, it wasn't just about making sure they stayed out of trouble, doing their schoolwork and stuff like that, having respect and taking them to church on Sunday. We did all of that.
Mhm.
But you are going to have a good foundation,
Right.
and food is life. And I knew that. I knew that back then, and I knew it was important to make sure they ate good food. They didn't hardly have cereal and stuff like that. No, they had Kicks for a snack. Kicks was
Mhm.
the snack cereal. So we had Wick. I was able to get Wick.
Mhm.
Wick meant that they had Kicks for a snack, but for breakfast, you had grits, or you had oatmeal, or you had cream of wheat,
Mhm.
or on Saturday you had home fries and
Mhm.
stuff like that. You was going to eat
Yes.
good home cooking. And so I'm gonna give you an example. One time I was tired
Mhm.
and I thought that I could make the box macaroni and cheese. as a side for dinner. So I cooked food.
I already know where this is going.
Okay, so I tried it. I tried it. So I
Right.
did this. My son said to me, and then my daughter said, "Ma, what's this?" I
Hmm.
said, "It's macaroni and cheese to go with your dinner." They said, "No, it's not." They said, they said, "What is this? This is some box stuff. I don't want that. Where's the real macaroni and cheese?" Like they were offended that I even tried to put that in their face. So I just say that I never did that again.
Right.
Never made a box macaroni and cheese again.
Nice.
Again. Never. 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 Well, it can't do nothing for
But you
me.
see, isn't that amazing though? How because your kids came up on the real stuff, they automatically knew when you
They
cut a corner and then tried to
oh,
stuff.
they
And I'm thinking like, wow, it's almost like everything is flipped over because now kids look for the box stuff. And when they taste the real stuff, they don't really know how to deal because they're
yeah,
so used to the processed flavors that, they're not being drawn to the real stuff anymore.
right,
Mm.
right. And I think that's unfortunate because the stuff in the box, because it has preservatives, it has a lot of salt and other flavors, so it makes it
Mhm.
taste good and as extends the shelf life. But
Mhm.
it's not good for the body. And
Right.
no disrespect to shelf life and stuff. And I guess sometimes you may need to have that. You got time constraints, you got stuff going on,
Mhm.
but it should be the exception and not the rule.
Right.
And what happens is when it becomes the rule, you kind of mess up your taste buds. It's just like you got to reprogram
Yeah.
to appreciate what natural tastes like. Now I used to have pot pies. One of the things I liked as a kid is the Morton pot pies.
Mhm.
And that was when I moved with my mom. She worked in a job, and then she had a side job. She was
Mhm.
always, my mom was like, tree job, because she wanted to make sure my sister and I were taken care of. So she
Mhm.
was going, she was going to do it. But she cooked a lot of homemade stuff. But sometimes we'd have a pot pie.
Mhm.
But oftentimes she would use a crock pot to cook, or
Right.
she would start a dinner and she would say, "Regina, now when you come home, this is what you need to do. You need to turn it this way,
Mhm.
add this. I've already took care of that." So 85% of the food that we ate, even with our mom,
Mhm.
was home cooked. Now the only thing she didn't do was we got in love with, frosted flakes and corn pops with my mom, because she
Corn
wasn't
pops were
really
they
up.
were a point.
Corn pops. What? That
Corn
was my
pops were
that was
huge.
my jam. Corn
Yeah.
pops, you can tell
Yeah.
me nothing. And Frosted Flakes, they're great, so
Yeah.
I was on it. But now when I had my kids,
Mhm.
I went back to what my grandma used to do.
There you go.
So I got the big box of cream. And to this day, my kids, if I say I'm making oatmeal
Mhm.
and they're coming through, they know when I make that oatmeal, by the time I put
Mhm.
that cinnamon and that brown sugar and a little vanilla extract, a little milk, and put that love in there, and
Oh yeah.
they
You
got a
can't beat
nice
it. You
oatmeal.
can't beat it.
You can't beat it. And I think that even my kids now, if I
Mhm.
tell them I'm fixing something, and my son likes to eat, and I used to worry because he older now, he's a young man, he's on his own, but and my husband could cook too. He could throw down. He ain't no slouch. But so they knew that we cooked in here.
Mhm.
And when I tell him, like he came over for dinner Sunday, he was
Mhm.
like, "Mom," he text Mom, "What you cooking?"
Mhm.
I'm like, "Oh, I got some baked chicken, little macaroni and cheese, little spinach." He's like, "Oh, okay, I'll be there." And I'm gonna make some biscuits. I'm coming. See you at 4 o'clock. See
Nice.
you at four.
Nice. It's good to have that connection.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's fast forward now to the Baking Academy
Yes.
and your desire to bring families together in the kitchen and that educational process. Who all does your academy serve? I mean, who all in the family do you want to engage with?
Well, initially, when I started Regina's Baking Academy. It was during the COVID, right?
Hmm.
And I thought about, the parents are now teaching the kids at home and how hectic that is.
Right.
And prior to that, you were able to take them out for different experiences. They could go
Hmm.
here, go there. But now it's like everybody's kind of camped in, and you got parents working from home, you got the kids going to school at home,
Oh.
and everyone's trying to readjust, but sometimes that can still be frustrating.
Mm.
So I said, well, what could be a way to break that up and do something fun together? And it's a bonding opportunity,
Mhm.
in the kitchen. And I just thought about how when I used to sit at the table when my grandmother would cook or she was baking, I would just listen to her talk about stuff from when she grew up and that kind of thing, and how cool that was. And
Mhm.
then the other residual benefit I thought about was, and I had made a list. I said, well, I'd be teaching them about measurements, so they're learning about fractions, when you gotta measure a cup of milk, the
Right.
difference between a wet cup and a dry, why you measure flour in a cup and why you measure milk in a glass, and the difference between volume and ounces. So
Mm.
they'd also be learning, but then they also had the beauty of doing it in their own kitchen,
Yeah.
right?
That's
So
awesome.
now when you think about the time that it takes if you were going for an outdoor activity, let's say you want to take your children baking to a
Mm.
baking class. Look
Mhm.
at the time factor. Takes about an hour and a half to get them dressed and ready.
Yeah.
Then you got to travel to the location. That could be anywhere from a half an hour to an hour.
Mhm.
Then most baking sessions are anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half, depending on what you're doing.
Right.
So now you've already spent 4 hours.
Mhm.
Then you got to get back home.
Mhm.
Well, what I'm also doing is I'm saving you time. You don't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah.
Okay? So now what all you have to do is once you say yes and you want to take the training, you can
Mhm.
do it with you and your child, and I send you the list of the you don't even have to worry about, oh, what do I have to get? No, no worries. I
Mhm.
send you the list, I send you the recipe with
Mhm.
the instructions and with the and then I send you the confirmation with the link, and you
Mhm.
come on in and we have a fun baking time together.
Yeah.
And it's I did it initially with the younger moms in mind, like in the 30s,
Mm.
late 20s, early 30s,
Mhm.
because I knew they had the little bits, they're dealing with babies
Yeah.
and kids in elementary school, and that could be a lot. And they love it on the kids, but it's like, everything is making so it's task oriented, making sure they do their schoolwork, but you got to do your work. And if you're working from home, you're
Mhm.
distracted. But in this space right here, y'all doing it together.
Yeah.
So the child gets to participate, even if it's pouring the milk in a
Mhm.
recipe or adding a cup of chocolate chips to the batter. Um,
Mhm.
y'all get to work that together. And then the finished product is something that y'all
Yeah.
created,
Yeah.
you
And you know
know?
what I love about that? I love
Yeah.
the using the vehicle of the culinary arts to help the family unit reconnect, because we have such a huge disconnect inside of the family unit right now. It's
For
ridiculous.
sure.
And folks aren't seeing the value of sharing and connecting and all of that without having all the other negative stuff that comes, or may come with that.
Yeah.
They are all creating for a common goal, which is to get dinner on the table or breakfast or whatever they're cooking together. But it creates a different type of morale. Yeah.
Yes.
And everybody, if they all have their roles, each person has an opportunity to shine,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know?
And that's what I really enjoyed. I had one of the lessons I did was with I had it was my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
one of my church babes,
Mm-hmm.
and my niece and her son. And
Mm-hmm.
the lesson was on cupcakes.
Mm-hmm.
And when they did it, so at the time we did the Zoom and everything, so I do it via Zoom. And so we did the lesson. And my nephew was so proud of his creations. He took a picture of it, and I had posted it up on my
Oh,
story. And my granddaughter, she was just to the moon and back when her and my daughter were in the kitchen making stuff together. She was like, "Oh, you need one egg or two eggs?" And
Mhm.
I can stir it, and so you hear my daughter like, "Okay, Geneva, let
Right.
mommy's gonna do this," or so it was just like so much fun.
Mhm.
And then we did one on biscuits, which everybody loved biscuits.
Mhm. Yes.
And
Use
I
buttermilk ones? Mm.
yeah, with these biscuits, you could butter them, jelly them, put
Mm.
some meat between them. You could hook them up any kind of way. But it was so much fun to see them actively involved. And then I tell them, I said, okay, what I want you to do is send me a photo after you finish, because some recipes are a little longer than others. So
Mhm.
once I've walked them through the steps and they know, the time temperature is really important. We talk about that, and I share that even when I do my lives during this challenge we have.
Mhm.
It's important to respect the temperature of your recipe so that it gets the best, you give it the most optimum chance of being successful, right? And so it was funny how one of the girls made the mistake with the biscuit recipe and they had to start it over. And
Mm.
so her dad was saying, you have to pay attention. I gave you the ingredients like Miss Regina gave. You were supposed to pay attention.
Mhm.
So she did it over again and they sent me the recipe. They sent me the photos and it came out really nice. But see, that was also about learning and that connecting and communicating. So that was pretty cool too.
Mhm.
And one of the fun parts of it is I not only do I work with the moms and babes or the dads and babes, because at this point, one of my church babes, there is a married couple, loving to death.
Mhm.
But the mom is a school teacher. So
Mhm.
in the summer she was teaching school. So
Wow.
her husband would step in and help do the cooking with their daughters. Because he
Mhm.
also cooks too. He's awesome in the kitchen. He's the one that cooks at home.
Right.
So she was like, "Mom, can Kaheem do it?" I said, "Sure." She said, "Can you send him the recipe for the next lesson because I'm going to be teaching with the kids. So I got to do it." No problem. So it was fun. And then the other thing I like is for the women, like we could do like one of the things I'm doing later on in November is to do a sip and bake, you
Mhm.
know, where it's just the ladies coming together and, have a fun recipe. And I said, well, the sip is going to be sparkling cider or ginger ale. You can sip what you want after, but I don't want you saying that the recipe got messed up. Miss Virginia, you didn't tell me. I said, no, you were doing too much. So
Right.
sip the cider. You're going to sip the cider and bake your cookies.
Mhm.
And then afterwards, you could pour something else in a glass, but I want you to focus on it. So
Mhm.
it's fun, and we're so disconnected now. I
Yes.
mean, Zoom is giving us a way, and these platforms give us a way to reconnect with folks.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
how a lot of stuff happens around food, and it doesn't mean
Mhm.
you gotta overindulge, but you can actually just conversations. How's your week going? What's it been
Yes.
like? And you could do that while you make sure you got the 12 ounces of chocolate chips and you got
Exactly.
the 2 1/4 cups of flour, making sure you leveled it off. We can have that conversation, making sure your butter's at room temperature while you telling me how your day's going or how's it been for you since you've been going through this COVID experience. And it gives a chance for women also to connect, to come together and also learn how to do something or relearn something that
Mhm.
we haven't done for a while. So that's one of the things that I'm really passionate about is the teaching.
That is so good.
Yeah.
And so now with the teaching, because being that you are a program creator and developer,
Hmm.
and there's a certain amount of finesse that it takes to actually build out a program. And so now you're taking that same knowledge and then transferring that skill set over into building out your own program
Yes.
for your baking academy, Regina's Baking Academy.
Right.
So, what does that process look like for you? And then, how will families take advantage of this?
Okay. Thank you for asking me about the process because initially, to be transparent, when I was making programs for the different nonprofits or creating or implementing programs,
Mhm.
there was a construct, right? There was parameters you had to do. A, B, C. Our metric was this. Our goal was that. And I was like, okay, great. Give it to me. I'm going to run with it.
Mhm.
Or we want you to develop so and so.
Mhm.
So it was easy to do that from an employee perspective because I
Mhm.
knew that there were parameters, there was a metrics and outcomes that were expected.
Right.
I had to switch that mindset from an employee to an owner before I
Yes.
was able to start applying
Yeah.
similar metrics to building out a program for me.
Were you faced with any challenges going from an employee mindset to entrepreneur mindset?
I'm just gonna redirect for a minute and I'm gonna
Okay.
be right back. Could you give me like
Absolutely. Absolutely.
10
Yeah.
seconds?
Oh yeah, yeah. Do you think so?
Okay.
So here's the thing. So what we're talking about right now is Regina. She's clearly got a skill set. She developed programs back in 1998, and her programs were designed around much of what she's doing right now, and that is helping youth, helping families, helping the transition process, so that they can take what it is that they got from one place, one organization, the benefits of one organization, and then moving that over into the next phase of their life so that they don't fall through the cracks, fall through the system, which unfortunately so many kids who go through, whether it be the foster care system, the homeless situation, all that, they fall through the cracks. And if there isn't a program or somebody in there, in their corner to help bridge that gap, they end up kind of becoming, a part of that prison to pipeline system. It is one of the most tragic things that you can see. So here it is. Regina has now put together this Regina's Baking Academy in order to not only teach people culinary skills. I mean, that's the obvious thing,
Right.
but the deeper thing is that she is structuring this in order to bring families back together, to strengthen the family unit, and to doing that through something that could be very fun, nutritional, and time. It takes time to cook things. And so that time is a moment, an opportunity for families to reconnect. So, just giving you a backdrop of that as we pop back in and then continue the conversation with Regina. Okay, Regina.
Yes.
So I was filling everybody in on just, what it is that you've got going on with the Regina's Baking Academy.
Mhm.
And the educational piece, you bring families together in the kitchen through education. So let's talk about the education. What does that look like, and how do they benefit from that as a family unit?
Yes. So to what you said earlier, Jason, I think the foundation of it is how do we serve our families in a time where time itself is seems like a commodity
Right.
that we don't value as much, and we're so connected to different platforms of communicating, except face to face.
Hmm.
We're on our phones on a regular basis, checking if someone liked this on Facebook, or somebody did a funny thing, or you're looking at cute kittens and things like that.
Hmm.
But you could be sitting right next to the person that needs you the most, or deserves your time, and just kind of out of habit, you're not tuned into them.
Hmm.
And the Baking Academy, while you definitely will learn the foundations of how to bake, and then you will take that and expand from there. The
Hmm.
other part of that too is connecting with the people right in your own space. Um, it's so important to appreciate that these moments aren't going to be here for long. I look forward to when my son comes over for dinner, or my daughter says, "Ma, can you watch Geneva, or pick her up or something like that because I got to work late." I get to spend time with
Right.
them that I don't get back. You know, um, and if you have an opportunity to do something with your children, that's fun, and it's not about having those heavy conversations. You just kind of doing stuff with them, and over time, those natural things that used to be natural, you
Mhm.
learn by sharing with each other in the kitchen. You baking. Maybe after the lesson is finished, y'all sitting over a plate of cookies, and they just start saying stuff that maybe they wasn't going to talk about before, but now you've created that connection with them.
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
is like I always say, it's a judgment free zone.
Yeah.
Cookies and cakes and things, they don't talk back. They don't get upset if they don't come out right. If they get a little brown on the bottom, they're
Right.
not going to say, "Hey, you kept me in 5 minutes too long." That's not going to
Right.
happen. So
Right.
you can have that opportunity to connect with each other and have fun with it. And at the same time, you can have to know that you did that. That's a
Mhm.
memory you have now of doing something with your child
Mhm.
that maybe you feel like, oh, I just don't want to be bothered. Well, don't worry about it because I'm going to guide you through the whole process. It's going to be fun. And
Mhm.
what I always say is be patient with each other. Be patient with yourselves. I even tell my Sunday school kids that. Be patient with each other,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And we're so busy trying to do this, be there, find out this, jump on this, like this, respond to that. Breathe.
Yeah.
Just
What has
breathe.
been the most profound outcome that you have witnessed in doing what you do and people taking advantage of that, learning that culinary process as a unit? What's been the most profound thing that you've seen?
I think I had to. Last year, my church, we have a nonprofit where we teach baking classes, and there was some kids there that were really excited, like to
Mhm.
learn. So we had little bits from 5 up to 13,
Mhm.
and so I knew I had to engage them differently. The little ones could do different things, the older ones could do other stuff.
Mhm.
Um, what really lit up is when you do a baking lesson with the kids and they're sitting there, hands washed, they got the gloves on, they're
Mhm.
ready to pour the flour in or they're ready to stir this, and then you're taking the kids in the kitchen and
Mhm.
they're laughing with each other. They're just enjoying the whole experience and they're listening,
Mhm.
they're taking the cues, and then you come out with the finished product and everyone is like, we did this.
Right.
We collectively did this dessert. So
Mhm.
instead of buying a dessert, which we could have probably took a few dollars and went to the store and bought it, no, we made this.
Right.
We did that together.
An accomplishment.
Yeah, and then my daughter, she made me laugh. So
Mhm.
I did about 5 or 6 sessions with I call it my pilot, my
Mhm.
pilot group, right?
Mhm.
She said to me, "Mom, I have recipes now.
Wow.
And I can do this for myself and I can
Wow.
teach Geneva." And she said,
But
I
that
never had
you
this.
do
She
this.
was, she was
Mm.
like, thank you, Mom.
Mm.
And I remember wishing that I had recipes from my grandmother because she did everything by the eyes. She
Mhm.
poured this, did that, shook this, voila. I
Mhm.
didn't know some of the stuff, and she's not here anymore to give me that fine tuning that I would have liked. So that was one
Right.
of why I went to school in the first place because I was like, Grandma ain't gonna tell me.
Mhm. Mhm.
I gotta watch her and see how she do it. But
Mhm.
to be able to have my daughter say that to me now, uh, it warmed my heart. And you are building your own library, so literally you work with me. When you finish, you're gonna have your own little binder of
Mhm.
recipes that you can dig in, pull out anytime you feel like it. Oh, you want a little cake? You want to make some frosting for the cake? Or you
Mhm.
want some biscuits homemade? Oh, you could do that. It is not hard.
Mhm.
So I like to say it's fun.
Yeah.
It's being patient and paying attention to the directions. And we have to pay attention and follow the rules with everything we do.
Mhm.
It is so easy to do the same thing with a baking recipe.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
it's just transferring that ability to follow instructions and read directions, and you transfer that to baking, and then you get to open yourself up to a world of fun time with your loved ones, and even when you want to have a girls' night out, you can have a fun girls' night out
Mm-hmm.
with your friends and talking stuff and baking little knickknacks and just having a good time.
Mm-hmm. 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 Wow, that is awesome, Regina. I love to hear you talk about this because it is so clear, so evident that you absolutely love what you do. And that's what programs like this require in order for them to be successful. And they deserve that. The folks who are impacted and touched by these programs, by what you're doing, they deserve the
Yes,
person on the other end of that to actually care about what they're doing, and you bring that care to the
thank you.
table, and that's beautiful. So we're going to start the wrap up, but I want to know, is there anything in particular that, like a tip or something that you'd like to leave the viewer with,
Yes.
on, you know please
What
go
to do?
for it.
Well, one of the things when I went to culinary school, because I could not bake that sweet potato pie like my grandma did. Over time, I've gotten to be, okay, but it took me some time. One of the things I learned in culinary school is one of the first things they teach us is mise en place, which
Mm,
means things in place. And I'm like, wow, that sounds like the stuff grandma used to say. You better make sure that stuff is done right. So basically, you want to make sure before you endeavor with your
mhm,
recipe, make sure you have all the ingredients you need. Make
mm,
sure you have what you need to make the recipe with. Make sure your oven is good. Check your temperatures.
mhm,
Um, and make sure that you give yourself time that's required
mhm,
to do your recipe. And I'm telling you, if you plan it in advance and you have a recipe that tells you how to do it, if you stick to the instructions,
mhm,
follow the instructions, it will lead you to the right end product. You will get what you want. And another tip I like to give is when you are baking a recipe and it tells you that it takes 35 minutes or it takes 55 to 60 minutes,
mhm,
do not open that oven until that baked item has been in there at least half that time.
mm,
Because what happens if you open that oven too soon,
mhm,
you essentially make that baked item drop. You can make the cake dense in the middle and that kind of thing. So if a recipe takes 35 minutes to cook, then what you do is you wait 17 minutes before you open that oven.
mm,
Let the heat of the oven do its magic as it works with the ingredients, works with the leavening agent, which could be the baking powder or the baking soda.
mm.
Let it do its job. So your job is to be patient. I know when I first started baking, I used to get excited. You want to see, so you popping open the oven,
Yeah.
closing it, popping it, open it. But when you're doing that, you're letting the heat out,
Yeah.
and you need that focused heat to help make your item do its job.
Mhm, mhm,
So if you have an item, whatever the bake time is, you have to wait for half that amount of time before you open up the oven to check to make sure it's going okay.
See, this is why I have you on the show, because that tip right there, that's like everything. You
Yeah,
know,
I learned that the hard way.
yeah, I
Experience.
mean, that's something that you don't think about,
Yeah,
and you don't know that if you don't know that, you know,
right,
and it
right.
takes somebody who that is their space. You
Yes,
are a baker to the core. That's your discipline. And so yeah, that is an
Harry.
excellent tip. Thank you. Harry
Yeah,
just said good tip.
thank
Harry is
you.
in the house, you know. And how you doing, Harry? Yeah, we're just sitting here talking about the baking in the kitchen and bringing families together, through the arts of culinary sciences. And Regina is, of course, just blowing it out of the water with her tips and her information, her background. And we talked about just how the skill set that she has. She went through, got her master's and all that, and she was working in the nonprofit sector. And she went from that to transferring that skill set into developing her own. Regina's Baking Academy. Phenomenal place to go. You could find it on her page on Facebook. Matter of fact, let me bring that up. Okay, facebook.com/, baking is cool, which now you can see why it is cool. Okay. So Regina is serious about making it fun,
Yeah.
you know, bringing everybody together and having that as a backdrop to strengthen the family unit, which
Yes.
if we don't understand the importance of family now more than ever, we're
Yes.
really losing it. And so
Yeah.
we have to use whatever vehicles that we can. And this vehicle right here is a beneficial vehicle because not only do you get that family camaraderie, that connection, that bond strengthening, but you also learn the skill set in the process. You learn how to cook, learn how
Yeah.
to innovate, learn how to understand what your baked goods are telling you, when
Yeah.
they're telling it to you, and why you need to make certain adjustments and how to make the adjustments. So
Awesome.
all of that together is combined in Regina's Baking Academy. So you want to make sure that you go ahead, like that page, and follow her because she's starting to come out with some serious things. I saw her the other day putting a cupcake up there, and that icing job that she did on the top, pretty fancy stuff. So, you know, Regina, I want to thank you for coming by and taking the time to share with us all of your expertise, the love for what you do,
Thank
and the
you.
contribution that you've made to so many people's lives, in what you did prior to opening up Regina's Baking Academy, and then the programs that you developed to help transition, folks' lives who are in crisis, to keep them from going into further crisis. That's amazing work. And now you're doing it again here with Regina's Baking Academy. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jason, for having me. It's been a lot of fun. Um, Oftentimes you don't get to share.
Yeah.
Uh, a lot of people see where you are, but it's a journey. And I think when someone says, "Well, you used to work in nonprofit," why it is, and I always say it comes down to one thing:
Mm.
what's the common denominator between what I did then and what I feel God is leading me to do now? And it all comes down to service.
Yes.
It all comes down to service. When I worked in the nonprofit sector, it was about serving the youth, the family, the women,
Mm.
um, doing my level best to provide them with the tangible needs, whether it was a referral, whether it was an outfit, whether it was a program or a class to help get them from point A to point B. And
Mm.
in baking, the service I provide is not only do you learn how to bake, but
Yeah.
you get to have that time. You get to say how I'm spending my time with my family. I'm not
Mm.
I'm not on Facebook, I'm not on the social media. I'm with my child or I'm with my girlfriends and we are connecting together around baking as the platform, but we get to be with each other and we serve each other by enjoying each other's company and creating memories that you can't get back.
Excellently said. Excellently said. Well, thank you so much. Okay, and if you all have not already liked my page here, facebook.com/, GIMKTV, and that stands for Get in My Kitchen. And today, Regina Howard Norman got in my kitchen and we talked food talk. We
Yes,
enjoyed the time together. And so I'm looking forward to when we have a part two of this conversation, when we dive
definitely.
a little deeper in, and maybe we'll talk about some of the, delicacies that Regina's going to be making, and
For sure.
hopefully sometime soon, you know, and you know what, I forgot to ask you a few questions, so we will have to do another one of these, but hopefully one day soon, after all this shutdown business is
Yeah,
behind us, maybe we can get Regina to come to the lab.
I love that. Have Amtrak will travel.
There you go. There you go. All right. So this has been the Jason Hodge sharing space and time with Regina Howard Norman of Regina's Baking Academy. having a great time with the great conversation. You know, when you get two foodies in the room together,
Uh,
it's nothing but good times.
I'm just saying.
So thank you for joining us, and we will see you another time. Make sure that you